Is Marvel learning from its massive mistake that it had with the Marvels? Well, we're getting some insight into some of this stuff. Obviously, with the actors and writers strike, everything had to get maneuvered around. The next release in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, plowing straight forward with Phase 5, was supposed to be Captain Black America, Brave New World, whatever the hell it's going to be called. But we'll talk about that a little bit into the future. But now it's been replaced by Deadpool, which ended up getting moved around again and sent out for reshoots, and everything's in flux right now. And it's definitely a good thing. Okay, are they reshooting some stuff to make it better, make it more coherent, tell a more complete story in line with your interconnected universe? We don't know about that, because if we take a look back at their recent history, the one that kind of led up to the catastrophic disaster that the Marvels is, you're going to realize that they got a lot of fucking work to do. Just, a coherent theme, a coherent end goal at all whatsoever, that would be important. And okay, if you've been following along this stuff, either on my channel or on several other places out there, there has been a bright spotlight cast on Jonathan Majors. Now, to me, until he's currently having his day in court, and generally, as a rule of thumb, never believe a woman, and especially one who says another and then takes everything to trial, that's not necessarily, one I'm going to line up with and then just, champion his cancellation. Of course not. But on the other side, if this leak ends up proving to be true, that Marvel Studios to abandon Jonathan Majors and his Kang storyline, man, it kind of sucks, but it also makes sense. With the disaster that has been 2023 for Marvel in general, they kind of have to figure out what the fuck they're going to be doing with a Phase 5 and Phase 6 into the future, okay? Because, they have announced projects that are out there, and those have been shuffled multiple times like a fucking deck of cards. Nobody knows even what the fuck is going to be coming out in the next year, let alone in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years that they have all of these big lofty plans for. And you remember, because this is analogous to Phase 2 of the Infinity Stone arc, where in Phase 1 you ended up capping everything off with, Joss Whedon kind of throwing in the reference to Thanos at the end, which, that's actually what happened. There was no intention at all at having that reveal as him being the big bad at the end. But at the end of Phase 1, there was a Marvels film, okay? You knew definitively who was in the Marvels. Iron Man, Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow. They were all there, okay? You had your team and what you were going to do with them. The possibilities were endless. And then not long after that, you shat out Iron Man 3, which made a whole hell of a lot of money, but I hate that. Like, a certain country hates people that are forced to live on a fraction of their land as some sort of a generational punishment. But with that said, everything was coherently set up in order to culminate in Infinity War and in Endgame in the next phase. So we're sitting right here, smack dab, probably not too far into the same timeline for Phase 2, where you definitively started to introduce the Infinity Stones to bring everything towards something. What did you set up in Phase 4? It was just a bunch of disparate ideas, introducing brand new, worst versions of every character while sprinkling in ones that you have absolutely no idea who the fuck they are. You love that run of Shang-Chi. What's that seminal run of Shang-Chi? Right, exactly. But they're all there. Do they even know they're in the same universe? Okay, outside of Doctor Strange bouncing around and Wong doing the same thing to a couple of other D+ shows, not a whole lot of interconnectivity. So, if they're going to be replacing Kang, which, unless you're terminally online and you follow this stuff closely, you probably have no idea. It's like, oh, the Kang guy, he was in the Ant-Man movie. Okay, what else was he in? Oh, he was in the Loki show, which was the most watched one, but then at the same time, you're looking for the proverbial biggest fish in the smallest pond, and if anybody simply watched Loki season 1, fucking Kang dies at the end of it. Like, he's definitively defeated. You wouldn't anticipate him coming back and running the show going forward into the future. And then if you did subject yourself to season 2 of Loki, he's a non-factor at the end of it. So the only reason that you know that Kang is the big Thanos level threat for phases 4, 5, and 6 is if you're online. Is if you're somebody just going, what the fuck is going on with Marvel? Taking a look, it's like, okay, who's the new Thanos? Unless you're directly looking for it, the films haven't set that up at all whatsoever. They've had villain of the weeks in every single one of the films, and then they just get defeated at the end, and it's like, surprise, you like our new chicks? It's like, no, we don't. That's why fewer and fewer people are showing up to these things. So, yeah, if they're going to abandon Kang before they do anything with him, it's like hitting the eject button on your fucking fighter jet and you haven't even taken off yet. They haven't set up anything, man. So, if they realize that Kang, who is a fucking tertiary character in the comics to begin with, was a poor decision, it's not too late. Let's just see what this report ends up saying here. Jonathan Majors, Kang, may not see a dynasty in the Marvel Cinematic Universe according to a new report. Per Forbes, Joanna Robinson, author of MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, which you probably heard a couple of different people talk about the findings in that book, appeared on the House of R Ringer. Have to be very delicate in how I pronounce that, where she dropped a potential bombshell regarding Marvel's future. According to Robinson, the studio is dropping Ant-Man and the Quantumania screenwriter Jeff Loveness from writing duties on Avengers Kang Dynasty, and in turn steering away from Kang the Conqueror as the main antagonist in the multiverse saga. Yeah, because Kang was locked away in the Quantumverse all by himself. Like, he's absolutely no threat. Like, he's still out there, but he's trapped. And prior to going into the quantum realm, he was no threat to anybody to begin with. And he's without his intergalactic space traveling ship. So, yeah, he's successfully defeated for all intents and purposes. And Jeff Loveness is a fucking idiot, by the way. Again, shout out to Mahler with his exquisite breakdown of that film right there, just showing how inept Jeff Loveness is. But he wrote some Rick and Morty episodes once, and oh my god, they were like super funny. Just ask any soy-drenched millennial. I heard that someone recently, the screenwriter Jeff Loveness, who wrote Quantumania, was supposed to write the Kang Dynasty. Anyway, it's confirmed. I had it confirmed to me that he's no longer working for Marvel, Robinson said. I asked the person why, and they said the reason why is he's all wrapped up in this Kang storyline, and they're likely going to be moving away from that. Robinson claims that Loveness's departure from the next Avengers installment back up at the earlier report of the scooper My Time to Shine Hello, who also heard rumblings about Michael Waldron no longer writing Avengers Secret Wars. Yeah, exactly. So you were going to have a guy that spearheaded at least what Disney was hoping was going to be the worst bomb of 2023. Little did they fucking know. Write the conclusion to this story. Oh, I'm sorry. That would have been the setup. And then the motherfucker who wrote that convoluted disaster that nobody talks about anymore, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, one of how many different interpretations of the multiverse that's out there right now. You were going to have that dumb bitch writing your equivalent to Endgame? Come on, man. While Disney has not officially confirmed the report, evidence of Marvel cutting ties with Loveness can be traced back to the critical and commercial disappointment of Quantumania, which featured Majors Kang as the central villain. Sort of. The studio was stunned by Quantumania as it reinforced concerns about the superhero fatigue in the box office. No. They just looked around and go, oh my god, why is nobody turning out to this stuff? Because they're written poorly. Oh my god. Okay, make sure that we never hire those writers ever again. Where are those guys? Okay, make sure that they're fired. Oh wait, we gave them contracts to work on Avengers films? What the fuck is going on? See, if these reports are somewhat true, you had somebody with a fairly credible book come forward with this stuff, and somebody who's also fairly accurate in their assessment of the situation when it comes to getting scoops as well with My Time to Shine Hello. They're just throwing that stuff out there. And for all of those projects that were announced a long time ago when phase 4, 5, and 6 were revealed, we were supposed to have a Fantastic Four film already, okay? The Blade film was supposed to already be out. There are so many things that got shuffled. Even the original release schedule for phase 4, thanks to the coup, for the response to the coup, everything got shaken up, so they don't even know what the fuck they're doing. Which is why, if we're getting leaks like this and them moving away from Kang, maybe they had an entire strategy into this stuff. Okay, maybe it was well thought out. Got to press X to doubt on that one. But now that they want to refocus, and what we talked about previously in a couple of videos ago, of them wanting to bring in Doctor Doom, somebody who's more name recognizable, I think before they make any definitive claims on this, if I'm going to go ahead and speculate as to anything there, they're just probably waiting to see how well Deadpool 3 ends up playing out, because yes, you have recognizable names, recognizable characters attached to that project. So if you want to bring in Doctor Doom or pivot to some other villain, he's probably the biggest name that you can pull from your, cast of characters from your, most famous rogues gallery in Marvel. But then that would also require you immediately dropping in a Fantastic Four, because you can't have Doctor Doom without the Fantastic Four. What the fuck are you doing? That just, applies to everything with Marvel right now. So it looks like maybe they're going to be shifting course a little bit. They kind of have to after that disaster that was the Marvels, which again, oh man, so the film that they planned, and the film that was supposed to be coming out in May of 2024, that ended up getting shifted back to July of 25. Like, it's really far out there. The entire plot had been leaked, but then it also got sent out for 5 months, 5 scheduled months. Not saying that they're going to be, shooting every single day, but 5 months of reshoots scheduled for this, because they know that their old tricks from 2020 onwards, they aren't working anymore. So all of this social and political commentary that they're throwing over the top of it, it's kind of funny that they're going to be making this admission of defeat with, Captain Black Falcon there. The one who in his final episode of his D+ show said, "You gotta do better, Senator. You can move borders with a single phone call." Just a fucking kindergarten understanding of politics was going to have such a heavily political film. Now, this is, the full plot has been leaked, but it's also been sent out for reshoots. So this entire plot, we don't know if this is ever going to be the case, but there were a couple of points that are in here, which I think is probably true in some form or fashion, and it goes to show you that prior to the Marvels, prior to 2023 in general, with Marvel taking the shit kicking that it did, they were going to continue, not just down the same path that they were going. They were going to step fully on the gas and fucking steer directly into that tailspin. The Marvels' catastrophic failure at the box office only hastened this course correction. See what ultimately ends up happening. We'll see what ends up carrying over from these plot leaks, because it's not going to be one-to-one what you're going to be seeing in the theaters, which would be absolutely wild if that's what you end up getting. But there are some things in there that does kind of ring true, knowing what we know now from everything else that has come before it. The plot is very hard to follow and confusing, so the leaker's going to try his best to describe it. It has the same political thriller aesthetic as Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it's way more political in nature. The entire plot revolves around politics. Oh, great. The president and an election. Oh, the film starts off where Falcon and the Winter Soldier ended, with Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie, now established as the new Captain America. So exactly where that D+ series ended. Bucky never appears, and his absence is never explained. I'm sorry, what? That's interesting. Sam visits a military training facility and bonds with some soldiers who just got back from an overseas mission. He meets an old friend, a Hispanic guy named Joaquin, Danny Ramirez, a dude from Top Gun. Okay, whom he formerly served with. Joaquin has been promoted to lieutenant in the Air Force and is now their top pilot. Television at the facility, we got news reports about the president, Thunderbolt Ross. He was formerly played by William Hurt, who had unfortunately passed away, and then he ended up getting replaced by Harrison Ford, who is also going to reprise one of his former career memes of him being the angry president. I'm just going to wonder if he's going to, bang the table and go, "Where's my wife and daughter?" Because fuck it, we're at this point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Why not just become a fucking bigger meme? Ross is the president of the United States. However, the report reveals that he is deeply unpopular with the public, and several of the veterans mock him. One of them calls him a traitor to the country. Stop me if you know exactly where we're going. Although what he did specifically is never mentioned. He probably has unctuous spray tan fumes, if you catch what I'm saying. His political opponent is a black guy, and he's very likely to be the next president. president. A montage of different late-night show hosts mocking the president is shown. Yes, they actually made Ross into a proxy for Trump, if it wasn't obvious enough. The entire thing is just a Trump allegory. All the woke, cringy politics of Falcon and the Winter Soldier are back, which, yeah, I don't think... Okay, a lot of people think because of the tone that was presented that it was kind of serious and it was really engaging. So yeah, why would they course correct off of that? Especially make such a harsh tonal change. Remember, this was before any of the lessons that they learned from the Marvels, theoretically. Because the theme bafflingly kept the same writer. Yes, exactly. Where at the end, Black Captain Falcon America was praising terrorists as freedom fighters. Strange turn of events for somebody who's supposed to be so patriotic, but okay. Scene then cuts to Ross in a large scientific research facility, a secret bunker, under the White House. He is upset that he probably won't be reelected and desperate to find a way to turn the tides of the election. He summons Sam Wilson to the facility and asks him to endorse him in his campaign. But as the new Captain America, he wishes to remain apolitical and doesn't want to approve any candidate. But if you don't endorse the president, then you ain't black. Ross calls him a traitor for not helping the president. Wilson just rolls his eyes and walks away. However, it's revealed the entire meeting was a setup by Ross and a mysterious scientist. Wilson had to surrender his shield and all his weapons while he was talking to the president, and while his shield was away from him, the mysterious scientist scanned the shield and got DNA reading of Steve Rogers as his shield was formed. The fuck? Yo, what? Okay, so that implies that Sam either didn't put a new coat of paint on the shield or he didn't wash the thing. Ross and the scientists plan to use Steve Rogers' DNA sample to recreate the super soldier serum and mass produce it. Right. However, the DNA imprint in Steve Rogers is incomplete. Right. I need help finishing the genome sequencing or something like that. Like I said, the film was overly confusing. It was hard to follow. Ross calls up Bruce Banner. Oh, so he's supposed to be in this. Yeah, that's not the last of the cameos that we're likely to see in this old interpretation of the script, who is now back in his human form. Ross wants Banner to help him complete the DNA sequence and volunteer his own superhuman DNA, which is nothing that the Hulk would do. Banner is disgusted by the presidency and refuses to help him. So, okay, yeah, Mark Ruffalo having a normal one. In desperation, Ross calls up a relative of the Hulk, She-Hulk. Oh, so She-Hulk was going to be making a cameo. At first, Jennifer doesn't want to help Ross, but after he says that he's got a bag of coke and wants to party, Tatiana Maslany turns up and is like, all right, let's go. I've fucked for less. Yes, seriously, her motivation for helping the villain is literally to spite Bruce for ignoring her. If you followed any of the She-Hulk coverage, you're likely to know that at least that's on character. After testing it on some rats, however, they discover that it is not stable and doesn't work as intended. After She-Hulk gives over some blood, combines it with Steve Rogers, Captain America's super soldier serum blood. Interesting. How'd you get blood from the shield that... Whatever, man. This is so fucking dumb. Ross takes out Rollins. All right, Seth Rollins is supposed to be making a cameo. Don't know if that's going to make it through the reshoots or not, but just like GSP made a cameo in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but Captain America and the Winter Soldier, the one that everybody likes, but, if you just dissect the plot a little bit, you realize that it kind of falls apart. But no. They're just going ahead and getting dollar store GSP, the third most popular member of the Shield. They're just going to go ahead and get him to be the muscle in this. Okay, yeah, Ross hopped up on this weird combination, takes out Rollins out of prison, offers him a full pardon for his crimes so that he can defeat him in battle. Rollins accepts. Rollins has super strength himself, but is no match for Ross's powers that easily defeated the hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, of course. Eventually, the super serum starts to affect Ross negatively, and he turns his skin reddish, turning him into, like you can see from the poster right there, the Red Hulk. The fucking Red Hulk is going to get taken down by Captain America. All right, I'm not even a comics aficionado like that, but I know that the Hulk can't get beat by Captain America. It's fucking dumb. Jennifer, She-Hulk, sees him as a monster and transforms herself into She-Hulk and tries to defeat him in battle. But the Red Hulk has significantly more power than her. Even more power. Yup, okay. As he was created by both the DNA of Steve Rogers and Bruce Banner. He has the power combined and is stronger than either of them. Yeah, but She-Hulk's better than Bruce Banner, right? So shouldn't she have been able to just go ahead and defeat him? And if anything ends up happening poorly, she can just go ahead and rewrite all of the MCU by stepping out into the real world. Can't she do that? Oh no, she's not allowed to do that anymore, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So Jennifer swallows her pride and calls Bruce, who shows up alongside Sam Wilson. So okay, so at least he got one original Avenger. Okay, Bruce transforms into the Hulk. How? He couldn't turn into... okay, whatever. And Captain America are a no match for him. He easily defeats them both. The Red Hulk tries to kill the mysterious scientist who was helping him out along the way, weird, and eventually escapes the facility. After the loss, Sam Wilson regroups and decides to try to reform the Avengers once again. His attempts to get into contact with Nick Fury, Thor, Ant-Man, and Rhodey all fail. Yo, you're one of the, second wave of characters that join the Avengers, and nobody wants to fucking help you out, okay? This kind of assassinates the characters that are there as well, like they're kind of heroes after all, and they don't want to help a world compromising event like the Red fucking Hulk. Yeah, with the current writing style of Marvel, I could totally believe this is in fact the case. Bruce then contacts Carol Danvers. Oh, right. Well, she probably doesn't want to come back as Captain Marvel. Does anybody want me as Captain Marvel? If you've seen that red carpet interview, you'd know what I'm referencing. Brie Larson is not shown on screen, and it's never explained how he had her contact. Yeah, because she's only supposed to be able to be contacted by Nick Fury's pager, and if Sam couldn't get a hold of Nick Fury, he's gonna be shit out of luck. At the end of Shang-Chi, it's revealed that Bruce and Carol were working together and wanted to recruit Shang-Chi, who eventually does turn up. With Bruce, Moon Knight arrives. Oh boy, and permanently in his Moon Knight persona. A Jewish lady named Sabra shows up, played by Shira Haas. Okay, I've never heard of this character before, and who is she is never clearly explained. It's mentioned that she was working for the Israel. She's a fucking Mossad agent. Well, that would make sense why she would have the inside track and knowing what's going on with the government. But anyways, the final hero to arrive is a black lady played by... Sorry, I can't even begin to know how to pronounce that. Shoha Rokamor. Did I just summon something? I have absolutely no idea who her character is, and I can't even remember the name of the character. Her superpowers are simply kinetic energy attacks. Yo, this thing sounds like absolute fucking convoluted dog shit, like he said up front. But the new Avengers that end up getting established right on time in the timeline, the new Avengers are Sam Wilson as Captain America, Joaquin, a fighter pilot, he's just gonna be Falcon, Bruce Banner, She-Hulk, Shang-Chi, Moon Knight, Sabra, and the random black lady. Cue the kazoo Avengers theme. That's what you have right here. Holy fuck, man. Now, it's not completely, totally out of the realm of possibility that this was, at some point in time, the plot. We've heard the leaks out of the, the Blade camp, where it was supposed to be Blade, one of the baddest motherfuckers on the face of the earth, was going to be the number 4 lead in his own film behind 3 strong, independent women, where they were just going to talk about good life choices. So I totally believe that they would have a Trump allegory so heavily into this. And it's not exactly out of the realm of possibilities where you'd have this big team-up film inside the confines of a Captain America film, because Civil War exists, for God's sakes, okay? You have a whole hell of a lot of crossovers right there. So I think that there's probably something to that. And then also in the mid-credit scene for the Marvels, you also had in the background, and which is why none of them appear right here, you also had Ms. Marvel set up the Young Avengers as well, or at least allude to that. So yeah, it could be simultaneously a bunch of different teams so that you can all bring them all together in order to still underperform the original Avengers, because Marvel has no fucking idea what they're doing. I will wonder. I'll link out to the rest of this stuff, because obviously I skipped around with a lot of this stuff, and yeah, there's a lot of fight scenes and shit like that, but having a Trump allegory, okay, turning your final act into a desperate plea for the president to try to overthrow the election and basically run January 6th into a fucking Marvel movie, it makes me cringe so much that it's got to be true in some form or fashion. We'll eventually see, potentially, whenever this was does hit theaters, how much made it over. But I don't know how many people are going to be going to the theaters at this point in time. You have no coherent Avengers team, at least at this point in time. Even if you could assemble anybody, did that team right there even pique your interest at all whatsoever? Those are all characters from failed and underwatched Disney Plus shows. You're setting up a bunch of teams nobody wants to fight a villain the studio doesn't even want anymore. Marvel is in huge trouble. If they don't right this course soon, it's going to be lights out for the superhero genre, and for Marvel specifically, very, very soon. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.